Hey guys, Mike Wallace here, coming to you on a beautiful Wednesday afternoon. Happy Valentine's Day. I've got Brad Vassy with me, and I want to talk with you for just a little bit today about a few things that are on our hearts. Brad, I've been thinking a lot lately. We got such diversity among our churches here in the New York Baptist Association, 81 churches, different sizes, different stripes, different styles, different races. It's really an amazing diversity. And one of our values that we established in our visioning process was that we celebrate that diversity. This is God's heart. It's His intention that His church looks the way it does in York County. So we celebrate that diversity. We have a lot of small churches. We have larger churches. We have rural churches, suburban churches, urban churches. And one of the things that I hear a lot is a church of one type will talk about the fact that they can't do as much as maybe a church of another type, either because the size is different or the location is different or the culture is different. And I've been thinking about that, and I want to push back to that a little bit, because to me, in my opinion, the way I look at it, there are two equalizers that I think that God has given us, His church, that no matter what church, what size, where you're at, what style, these things are equalizers, and they are things that He has given us to use. And the first is the gospel. Romans 1:16 is the power of God unto salvation. Every man, woman, child on the face of the earth, now or in history, that has ever believed, has believed because they either heard or read the gospel. Period. Right. And that's the power of God unto salvation. So it's not the power of the church. It's not the size of the church. It's not the resources of the church. It's the power of God in that message. And every church, any church of any size, rural, suburban, urban, we have that gospel. He's given it to us. Not only has He given it to us, but He has given us the responsibility, right? 1 Corinthians chapter 5, he says He has given us the ministry of reconciliation. And then He says He trusted us with the message of reconciliation. That message is the gospel. How do you respond to that as a pastor?
I think it's just been true for us. I mean, some years ago, looking back, now what is it that allowed, Hillcrest to discover itself? And I would say that very much the gospel. It was a desperation to see Jesus win, and I think the gospel is true to every believer in all of our churches, personally. But I think it becomes so personal that it becomes captive,
right,
to our own individual desire rather than a motivator for our desire to love others to it.
Yeah.
The gospel is almost hostage to our churches. And if someone doesn't believe that gospel, we tend to want to push them out so that we don't become corrupted rather than to engage them,
right,
so that we become infectious.
Yeah.
I think the gospel is definitely the equalizer, because it is the base.
Yeah, and it's the central critical message, right?
Right.
And so, and it's the greatest need that everybody has. I wrote an article last week, the greatest need is lostness, right? Yes. The answer to lostness is the gospel. So anyway, I see the gospel as the first equalizer. The second equalizer is discipleship. Matthew 28, it said, well, go into all the world and make disciples. That's our commandment. That's our reason for existence as a church. And, the early church, when they made disciples, they had nothing. They didn't have any money. They didn't have buildings. They didn't have programs. They didn't have baptismals. Yet they were making disciples, and the church was growing daily. And they were baptizing hundreds. Discipleship. Any pastor of any size church can disciple a few, who in turn can disciple others. And pastors, I've got to tell you, I think it has to start with you, right? Discipleship is not a program we establish in the church. It's not a series of classes that we put together, but discipleship is a lifestyle of investment into another person's life. I think you guys have been very successful about that. Talk to me a little bit about discipleship at Hillcrest, and then God has given you an opportunity, given you a platform with the South Carolina Baptist Convention through Disciple SC. Talk to me about that.
So as far as Hillcrest is concerned, I think discipleship became the natural next step. Last time or it was last night. I was coming out of my office. It was late. One of our men's groups were meeting for discipleship. And as I walked out the door, I looked across to the other building, and I noticed one of our elders were meeting with two of our college students, because they recognize the future matters. I think discipleship is the way we take the gospel and not just know it, but then extend it and expand it. So part of discipleship is, one, continuing forward with the gospel. So it's the evangelism, discipleship, two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
And so I think the better we understand the gospel through discipleship, the better we'll be at sharing the gospel through discipleship. And that become very important to us at Hillcrest.
And you did that as a very small church, right? I mean,
Right.
Hillcrest is larger now because you did discipleship when the church was small.
Yeah, so the equalizer in discipleship is as long as you're not trying to build your kingdom, you'll do discipleship. But if you begin to look at, well, how many seats do we have? You'll begin to try to fill the church and not the kingdom. And so
Wow.
if your seats are 50, then you'll try to fill your 50 seats. If your seats are 300, but if you just forget about seats and you start looking at souls, it really doesn't matter about the seats.
So if we build the believers, he builds the kingdom.
That's 100%. Oh,
Wow.
And even to the point of, and we can barely even do that. I think we've got to be faithful in looking like Jesus, and then let others desire to taste from that.
Right.
And then he'll do the work of enhancing. You know, one waters, one sows, one waters, but it's the Lord that causes the increase. So when we look at that from perspective, you were talking about the state, like that's exactly what this is. From the pastors I've talked to in our area, I'm trying to tell them not to try to go out and find just your leadership of your church to go to Disciple SC. This is not a program. It's nothing like that. Like, this is the goal for Disciple SC is to help every individual maximize their potential in making disciples.
Wow.
At a very small one-on-one, one-on-two, one-on-three level and up. So one of the things I've encouraged is, especially for those who have Sunday school teachers, small group leaders, whatever that may be, I've invited every senior adult that's involved in a group at our church, because this is a perfect way, and the times work out. So it's a Monday, Tuesday in the daytime for even our senior adults to recognize
So that's
their
March 4th and
individual.
5th, right?
March 4th and 5th.
At Park Ridge Baptist
It'll be
Church.
at Park Ridge Baptist Church, and they can go on the Disciple SC website and they can register there. Let us know they're coming, and send those seniors, send those students, send whoever you can, because this is not something they're bringing back to implement at a church. This is something that we can implement in our life to be better, effective at making disciples, and that comes from two places. One, it comes from being a good disciple. No one is above the need of discipleship.
Yeah.
And nobody should hold it hostage. So we want to help better equip every man, woman, child in our state to do it well.
Amen. So Disciple Now weekend, Disciple SC, March 4th and 5th at Park Ridge Baptist Church.
That's right.
Yeah, Park Ridge Baptist Church here in Rock Hill, 9 a.m. till about 3,
Yes,
4, something like that. Lunch, all the meals and everything will be provided. Go on the website, sign up. It's not just for you as leaders. By all means, start there. If nobody else will come, you come. But bring your people. We can, we'll make room, and we're going to have a good time.
Absolutely. Hope to see you there.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Have a great day.